Heritage tourism and historical sites in Britain are a big business. Just how big? Well, here are some numbers for you. Every year, about 500,000 people visit York Minster, which is England's largest Gothic cathedral. More than 800,000 people tour Shakespeare's houses and gardens in Stratford-upon-Avon. Over 1 million people visit Stonehenge, and about 1.5 million visit the British Library. Just shy of 2 million people tour Westminster Abbey, and more than 2.5 million visit the Tower of London. But the biggest draw continues to be the British Museum, which has more than 5.5 million visitors every single year. Tourism as a whole is the UK's 5th largest industry, and heritage tourism contributes about £12.5 billion to the UK's economy every year. It also supports about 200,000 jobs. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty big, wouldn't you? Heritage tourism is a pretty specific business. After all, it's not just about people having a good time. It's also about providing some education and helping people to connect with the past. Ultimately, of course, it's up to the individual visitors to decide how much or how little of the site's past they want to discover. However, because the sites do want people to leave having actually learned something, they offer their guests a few different education options. Now, if you have ever been to a museum or a historical site of any kind, you'll probably be familiar with all of these. But if you're anything like me, you probably never gave them a whole lot of thought. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've noticed about these different options. The first, and certainly the most popular choice, are the free brochures. These offer a fairly minimal amount of interaction between the site and the visitor. They basically give you a map and a few details, but not a whole lot of information. The next option, which seems to be especially popular with international visitors, are the audio guides. Now, if you've ever walked around a museum and seen on the little explanatory plaques a set of headphones with a number, then you know what those audio guides do. They provide some background information about some of the highlights of the collection or the site. I have to admit, none of us actually tried any of these audio guides. They certainly seem to provide a lot of good information, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to do it. Walking around a museum or a historic place with sort of a radio strapped to your head just seemed a little too strange for us. The third option are the Souvenir Guidebooks. Now, these are a lot more substantial than the free maps that you get, but you do actually have to shell out a bit of money for them. For example, the Tower of London guide, which is just beautiful. I mean, it has all kinds of pictures, it has lots of information about some of the different tours that you can take, but it does also set you back about £5. This obviously keeps a lot of people from buying them because for most of these sites, you're already spending quite a bit of money just for the admission. The way tourists use the souvenir guidebooks also varies quite a lot. You see some people who would actually follow them around the site looking at the different information as they went. But other people, and I have to include myself in this, pretty much just bought them and put them in their bags. This doesn't necessarily mean that we're not interested in the information in the guidebook. I can only speak for myself, but I wanted to experience the site as it was around me and then use the guidebook when I got home to remember what I had seen. The final option is, of course, the guided tour. Going on a guided tour at a historical site definitely takes some planning, and it's a time commitment, but it's so worth it in the end. Our experiences got better as we had this personal interaction. You have someone that you can ask to share their favorite anecdotes and little bits of history, and it really lets you have this very personal connection with both the site and its history. Everywhere we went, I made sure to ask the guides, what's your favorite thing about the history of this place? What's the thing that you wish someone would ask you on a daily basis? And I got some fantastic responses. For example, my tour guide in York Minster showed us a special window that he really loves. The patron of the window is a bell maker, and so there's all these pictures of bells in the window. Unlike most patrons who want to get a picture of themselves next to the crucifixion or the Assumption of the Virgin, this window shows the bell maker actually working at his trade. So that's my best advice when you go to a heritage tourism site. Seek out the people who are there. They're the experts and they really want to share the site with you. Each of these different options helps the visitors to manage their time at the site and have a good experience. But it also helps the site manage the visitors and the kind of experience that they're going to have while they're there.